By listening to the following, you are acknowledging that the comments, opinions, and analyses expressed by Metatope LLC, its representatives, or any other contributor are for informational purposes only and should not be considered individual investment or legal advice or recommendations to make an investment or adopt any investment strategy. You should be aware of the real risk of loss when buying and selling any assets, including but not limited to NFTs, tokens, or securities. Always conduct your own research and strongly consider seeking the advice of a financial or legal expert. And now, here's Crypto Chris G with TopeTalk.
GM, ladies and gentlemen, what is up? Or should we say, lady and gentlemen? You know, we start off small. Sometimes we get some extra people in here, but it's always good to see the crew. I cannot wait. I don't think anybody can wait for the Web3 Twitter Spaces to pick back up. In the meantime, we grind. We keep going. We do everything that we want, and we talk about what we want to talk about. And super excited about what we got to talk about today. Some good news in the industry. Things are moving. We're going to talk market analysis with Walker. We're going to talk crypto news. We're going to talk to Mr. Tolley from the Bad Bears, founder in Web3. And then we also have on the stage Double M from our Ape Starline. Misty is here, which is crazy. It's good to see you, Misty. I hope everything went good with surgery. So yeah, let's do some introductions real quick here. Say hi to everyone on the speaker panel. Thanks for hanging out with us in the audience there. Jam, we've got Jordan, our CEO, and let's get kicking and let's get rocking and rolling. So on my right here, we got Walker in the building. Go ahead and give a shout out, and then we'll go to market analysis after we say hi to everybody.
Yo, it's great to be here, seeing some familiar faces, Misty. It's great to see you. Best wishes. We got our boy Tolley in the house. I know we're going to have a great time today. Yeah, baby, let's go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Speaking of Tolley, what's going on? We just had a meeting with Tolley a little earlier. Love what he's doing in the space with his collection and with his with everybody he's working with, and just being an awesome Web3 founder and consultant for different projects. So what's going on, bro? Good to see you.
What's up, guys? Happy Thursday evening. Good to see you too. Thanks for having me out. Just sorry if there's any background noise. I'm just getting my shit.
It's actually breaking up. We can barely hear you.
Fuck. Really? Actually? Damn. Hold on one sec. Somebody else was complaining.
Yeah, take your time, bro. It might be a Wi-Fi thing. You sound like John, but we know that John has ghosts in his house, so I thought that they were messing with his microphone. But you don't have any ghosts in yours, from my understanding.
No, it's my fucking AirPods. Someone else was complaining about it earlier. Man, I got to get some new AirPods in. Fuck. Anyways, yeah, I appreciate you guys having me up. I'm just getting ready to go to the gym. I was telling you earlier, I'm doing 75 hard. Well into day 4. Wish me luck. Got to drink another half gallon of water. Got my second workout. Thanks for having me up, guys. I'm excited for this.
For sure. Thanks for being here, man. We had a surprise guest roll through, Misty herself. How are you doing, Misty? Good to see you.
Hello, everybody. How are you all doing?
Fantastic. Actually, I would love to have you join us again on next Thursday. We'll have one of the team members from World of Women on the speaker panel. So it'd be great to have you join as well on that one too.
I will definitely do my best to be back. I am on the tail end of all my healing stuff, and I just wanted to thank all you guys for all the well wishes and everything after my surgery. So thank you very much for that.
For sure. Yeah, thanks for being here. Our DJ, aka Crypto Medic, aka Mr. Travel Channel himself. What's going on, John?
Bro, I can't even go out in public anymore. They mob me now. They're just, dude, can I have an autograph? Wait, I saw you on that show. I'm doing all right, man. I'm glad to be here. Thanks everybody for coming to hang out with us. Yeah, exciting stuff. I think we're starting to hear some of the rumblings, seeing a little bit of stuff going on in the markets, starting to hear people lighting me up on DMs about things. So I feel good that maybe there's something in the air for the fall. Happy to be here.
That's right. Real quick, I think Tolley needs to restart, but go ahead, bud.
Oh no, just a quick question. I was gonna ask you, Crypto Medic, 2 things. Number one, what's the setup you got for the music that was coming across really clear?
Yeah, buddy, no problem. We got a whole bunch of stuff plugged in, but if you DM me, I will send you the article that I read that showed me the way.
Is it a Rodecaster or are you using some kind of speaker thing? I will DM you. I will
No,
DM you.
it's called Focusrite. It's actually like
Oh,
much cheaper, much simpler setup, and using my computer to play the music. But
cool.
yeah, happy to help out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I've got the backup just in case he's not available, ready to go, and it is a bunch of chords everywhere. And yeah, I don't know what he means by easy. I'm just kidding. It actually is pretty easy. It's just like I pull out this like giant cable system. I feel like I'm an electrician. But yeah, and last but not least, we got our top G in the building, Mr. Enzo himself. I mean, at this point, we should just call him Enzo Tate. What's going on, bro?
Yo, what's up, man? I am coming up on almost 3 months now of Top G. So yeah, I'm 10 days away, 9 days away from 3 months in. I haven't made a single dollar, but I have learned a bunch of strategies on trading, which the not making money part is on me because I'm not willing to risk my money yet on trading because we know it's a volatile and tough environment. So yeah, I've just been practicing my back testing and paper trading, and it's going well. And hopefully within the next maybe 2-3 months, maybe by the time I'm 6 months in, I'll start trading with real money. And yeah, eventually make something out of all the money I paid to be a top G, which it's not much, but it's still pretty steep. But excited to be here. It's almost summer here in Uruguay. Well, it's been 90 degrees, so I mean it's getting warmer. And I'm excited for the panelists. I'm excited to see Misty here. It's been a while since we've seen her, so I'm really glad to have her up here and hear from her. And glad to hear from everybody else in the panel.
Perfect. Yeah, man. Good to see you as always. Let's jump into some market analysis. This is going to be, Walker likes to focus on the, the big stuff, the ones that actually matter, like Bitcoin and S&P. And love to hear, and just get a nice refresher from a week from last week, obviously last Thursday. Love to know what's going on, man. We got good news or bad news, Walker?
Overall, it was a pretty slow week. A lot of investors and traders, were expecting more of a rebound this week. I think the biggest catalyst that has kind of pushed us down and what's pending on tomorrow's announcement, the jobless claims came in softer than expected. So they were expecting for around 210,000 jobless claims. It came in at 207. And essentially what that indicates to investors is that the labor market is more resilient than what they were anticipating. If you start to see a softening in the labor market, it puts pressure on the Federal Reserve, to really kind of take a step back from all of these interest rate hikes. So pending the jobs report tomorrow, people are a lot more weary now. If we get a really strong jobs report tomorrow, that's just going to give the Federal Reserve more ammunition, to keep these rates higher for longer, to drive that last interest rate hike sometime, in the later part of this year. So, with that news, the S&P, made a lower low. We've had a tick up here, but it's not looking very strong. We do have a lot of support, under us, but we're just going to have to kind of wait and see. I would say tomorrow's the day, because of that. In any type of like our big Federal Reserve announcements, I try not to have, very, very many open positions, just because you really never know where it's going to go. As a trader, I think you get a lot more value for me personally when you kind of, let the narrative, be introduced instead of trying to play a guessing game, a 50-50 bet, because once we get that general direction and really see, where we're going, what the Fed's going to do, it makes it a lot easier environment to trade. Looking forward, though, it's really hard to believe that we're not going to see some drastic changes, probably unbelievable changes, going into the election year. I've never had an election year where interest rates did not go down, and I think they're gonna pull all the tricks out of the bag. Um, so that's kind of the news on the S&P. It's just grinding lower. We did set that lower low, and it's not looking great right now. The VIX, which is the volatility index, it's a great indicator to look at. So it actually tracks the volatility of the S&P 500. When the VIX is high, time to buy. When the VIX is low, watch out below. And we have seen the VIX make this is a high since May. So we're getting up there. It's set a higher low, looking like it may be ready to try to break out again. And that's probably, again, going to depend on the jobs announcement tomorrow. The U.S. dollar, the DXY, still looking really strong. It set a higher high this week again. It's been on an absolute tear since July of 23. We did just break above a pretty significant resistance level around the 106 mark. And it's looking strong. And typically, investors are either leveraging into risk on or risk off assets, and the dollar being the king of risk off. So we're definitely going to keep our eye very closely on that. Now, with all of the downward action in the markets, Bitcoin, has really stayed extremely resilient. And I think that, there's a multitude of factors for that. We saw the ETF get approved. The futures ETF get approved for Ethereum. I think that has a lot of investors really excited. Really kind of potentially takes a lot of pressure off Ethereum. Seeing that approved, not necessarily a green light that the SEC is not going to come in, but definitely kind of sets the stage. And if we do get the green light on Ethereum from the SEC, it really sets the stage for pretty much any cryptocurrency that has been launched to really make a case for themselves. Ethereum had an ICO. They had a very centralized foundation. Still in many ways that they don't control, but they definitely drive the narrative in the direction of the project. So, all really, really positive things in crypto. I think, we all feel that a Bitcoin spot ETF is very near, and that is going to be, I think, an incredible catalyst. As the dollar softens as far as a global reserve. And I think a perfect example of that, we saw China sell off a large amount of treasury bonds this week, inherently kind of shorting U.S. markets and shorting the validity of us being able to pay our bills. And they're not the only ones. And I think that BlackRock, Fidelity, all these big funds, they're going to be set up in a very prime position to build a narrative, around a no interest fixed cap asset as a hedge against all of the turmoil and uncertainty that we see in the financial systems. And with that, yeah, I would really implore you guys, to pay, attention. It takes 30 minutes when we get these Fed announcements, and you can really start to dial in and be right on, the cusp of this information and start to, be able to analyze it and to make decisions. And a lot of times, you have to wade through you have to wade through the mystique of what they're saying. But it can be very powerful. And yeah, I hope that answered some questions and gave you guys some insight.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that. To go segment from analysis, let's talk about what happened in crypto today. Big day for the SBF case, criminal case. They've started the proceedings in court, and you have a couple people from different places, such as like FTX, former developers. A bunch of the different people are testifying. Some of the stuff like the SBF wrote to like Caroline is just the most craziest stuff I've read. If you haven't had time, just like follow, like just look for like summaries on this stuff, and it's pretty interesting. You can definitely tell based on the people from inside that SBF is very nervous. The guys that are testified today specifically resigned when they found that Alameda was using customer deposits. So I can assume today was very important for FTX's case. Anybody here, if anybody wants to raise their hand during this news articles, please do if you want to add something. But anybody have any like crazy information or know anything about this trial?
Well, I saw something really interesting today where they had released the amounts that individuals had been paid by FTX for like the hourly the hourly rate essentially. And I think they gave Tom Brady like $55 million for 20 hours of engagement over 3 years. They gave Steph Curry like $35 million for the 20 hours, and they gave Kevin O'Leary $15 million for like 20 hours, a virtual lunch, and 20 social media posts. But I just think I think it was it's crazy, and when you really look at it, like I have sympathy for I do have sympathy for like the athletes to a degree. I don't really feel like they knew. Maybe they did, right? Maybe I'm completely wrong there. But man, when you get like somebody that's like as financially literate as like a Kevin O'Leary, and you don't do your due diligence, and you're just like sporting, this to your clients, because if you look at the books, right, like it would have been easy, but like those questions weren't asked, they weren't pressured, and a lot of people were hurt over it. And I think it's such an important lesson for everybody across all markets. Nothing's too big to fail.
That's true, man. That was some crazy news to hear how much they got paid, and that, especially Mr. Wonderful. He seemed so genuine on all those. I'm sure you guys remember his. I can't even finish it. He was not genuine at all. You could tell he was paid for that crap. But go ahead, Narfather. Actually, John, go ahead, and then we'll introduce Narfather real quick.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be quick. Right. So I think it's really funny. By the way, I want to raise. These people are getting paid, and I think you hit the nail on the head, Walker. I don't think a lot of them really even knew they were doing this. I would venture that it's very possible that their accounts were being managed by whoever and were used to engage these things, in a deal, and nobody really even looked into what they were signing up for, right? Somebody came and said, hey, we'll pay you a bunch of money to, and they went, sure, that sounds fine. So I think it's super interesting that we're starting to see the back end of what happened now.
Yeah, and, definitely it wasn't Mr. Wonderful in his flesh, speaking that he loves FTX and then comes back around and says he hates crypto. That was definitely not him. It was AI. You can ask him yourself. Just kidding. But Mr. Narfather, thanks for joining us, man. So you have your hand up. What do you got to add?
Yeah, I wanted to add about the FTX situation. I heard that he is suing his insurance company because they're not covering his legal bills. The other thing is that one thing that I've definitely learned of getting into $1 million deals and dealing with public companies, and most of those guys maybe have one thing that they do really well. All the rest of it is just BS, and they're kind of talking their way through it. That's a hasty generalization, but that does not surprise me that there was no vetting or anything like that for $15 million for that amount of time. Who wouldn't say yes to that? So it doesn't surprise me that there were those kinds of numbers and that those people were involved, because they don't look. They were just riding the wave. Everybody was happy. Money was flowing, exciting. Hindsight's 2020, of course, but that doesn't surprise me in the least that they got paid that level. And I'm sure we're going to find out more.
Yeah, what's like 50 million when you got billions, billions on billions. So of other people's money. What's 50 million to you? It's not yours in the first place, right? But joining us now, CEO of Meditope, Jordan Young. What's going on?
Oh, wow. Thank you for the intro. I just had to jump in really quickly and more play devil's advocate. But as far as due diligence goes into the company, like hindsight's 2020, looking at it, knowing more information that has become publicly available, clearly we can look back and play, what is it, Monday morning quarterback. And I just want to throw out there that, like, I don't think a firm like FTX at that time there's no way that they would be opening their books to these people that they're signing. And like, so from a due diligence perspective, I don't know how much you can hold over like the Tom Brady's, the Steph Curry's, even the Mr. Wonderfuls of the world. I'm sure Mr. Wonderful probably had more sight and you can hold him to a higher standard. And there is a shilly aspect taking advantage of it. But one story I like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Picasso napkin story, but long story short, Picasso was in a cafe and he was just sketching on a napkin, and a woman walked up to him and said, "Hey, can I buy that from you?" And he said, "Yeah, that'll be $1 million basically." And not quite that much, but a lot of money. She's like, "How can it be $1 million that took you like 2 seconds?" And he basically said it took him a lifetime to get to that point. And the only reason I'm saying that is when you look at a celebrity doing an endorsement and saying, okay, yeah, Tom Brady got paid whatever $55 million. It's Tom Brady is Tom Brady for a reason. It's not doing 20 hours of work a year, but his name being attached to any brand will bring in way more than $50 million in revenue. So that's the reality of it. Like, if it was an FTX, that's still what he would get paid. And FTX certainly probably got the value out of Tom Brady attaching his name to it. If it was Coinbase right now, and we would probably have no issue with it. Obviously, it was FTX, and unfortunately, there were plenty of shady things going on. But FTX certainly didn't seem that way a year ago. And I'm sure we could have all looked further and done our due diligence, but I don't think that information is publicly available. So had to just throw that out there.
So my question to you guys is, should there be like more regulation in place? Should there be, standards that are set forth for, influencers and these kind of people to have access to that information before they go and, in this situation, quite literally prey on the public?
I'll jump in on that. I don't think that more regulation is always the answer to solving things, right? I think in certain time and place for regulation, most certainly. But when you talk about, okay, we're going to regulate influencers, or we're going to require companies to provide certain information to people who they deem to be spokespeople for them. I mean, it seems like we're over-regulating something. Like, you're a business person and you're going to sign a deal to represent something with your name, your brand, your IP, your face. I think that falls on you and your people to make sure what you're getting into.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Moving forward, we had some craziness on the friend.tech side, built on base, people owning keys of other people. There was a SIM swap scam happening with some of the top, people worth the most. Like one of the most keys held by people. In fact, one single scammer was able to use like iPhone SE, call like Apple, and have the information swapped over to this random person, this scammer, and he filtered out a whopping 200 over like probably 234 ETH, which is about $385,000 from 4 different people. So that's a heavy hit to the friend.tech ecosystem. It's been gaining a lot of steam. I mean, I don't know too much specifics on how, it doesn't seem like it would actually matter if it's friend.tech or not, regarding like SIM swapping, but it just seemed like they were targeting specifically those top holders, or those top held, I guess you could say. Does anybody else here use friend.tech? Has anybody, anybody familiar with why any of this stuff would happen regarding that? Like, I know SIM swapping can happen to anybody, but like, it just seems crazy that they targeted. I mean, it's probably because it was just a lot easier to get a hold of those wallets, or I don't know.
So my question would be then, to me, that would mean that somewhere their phone number or something with their Apple account was tied into that friend tech platform. Like, they didn't just look up a wallet and were able to SIM swap, right? Like, so again, this goes into what information are these platforms asking for from us? And as we've seen time and time again, they want more and more data from us.
Yeah, and it seems like this, based on the post from one of the victims, it was done from an Apple store. So maybe there's cameras. Not quite sure. Maybe it was done online Apple. I don't know. But yeah, that was some crazy stuff to see. I mean, that's a lot of money regardless to go out of the ecosystem. And that all adds up in the millions. So what's going on, Nar?
So yeah, I jumped into Friend Tech just to check it out. I'd been in like 0.01 just to go see what was up. It was a bunch of ridiculously dumb conversations. But what you had to do was sync your Twitter profile and authorize access to all of your information, because it's all built on the X name, and those are how the shares are bought and sold, is based on your Twitter profile. So what was happening is that people had SMS as their two-factor authentication tied into their Twitter account, where all that information was sent over to FriendTech. So these people had their wallets drained via the SIM swap because they were able to get into whatever 2FA and get the passwords changed. I haven't read like in depth. I read one of those articles that was like 4 paragraphs about it. But from my experience in FriendTech, it's just seemed like a big giant Ponzi. Honestly, I had somebody sending me base, acid base, basically like just nonsense conversations, and it's really unfortunate that people have lost funds there. I know I went and put on my Google Voice backup as to remove my actual cell phone, because the Google Voice number is cold storage, not attached to anything. So yeah, it raises a lot of questions. There's always going to be scammers, so it sucks, and we just got to figure out what we can do to avoid them, mitigate the risk the best as possible, and have insurance.
Yeah, man, I agree. Let's lighten it up a little bit though. Couple of cool things on the NFT side. Let's go ahead and start with the not so known one. The Dogecoin NFT community, Own the Doge is the name of it, is installing a Kabuso dog statue in Japan. I'm not quite sure where that's going, but sounds cool. In Sakura, Japan, on Kabuso's birthday, they collaborated with the city of Sakura, and I mean, I guess that's where the dog's parents, which is the original Doge. I guess that's where the parents of that original Doge is gonna often take their walks. So now we're building statues around the world of Doges, and yeah, that was on the that's one of the top NFT news, outside of what we'll talk about regarding Pudgy, and then Jordan's Forbes post coming up. But yeah, I don't think anybody has much to add to this one. So let's go to the more commonly known. We saw that Luca and the Pudgy Penguins ecosystem have announced their integration into Europe. I guess they're big stores like is it anybody know like if it's like the Walmart of Europe, I'm trying to find out the name of it again. I had it up. The Smiths, I think is what it's Smiths. Yeah, so I think it was Smiths. But go ahead, Nightman.
Oh man, a lot of good topics there, and it's funny because I just opened, my mind to this other topic where, like, my first Genesis project, we were doing that with bringing stuffies into this kind of like IRL aspect of things, and it's just kind of funny because the partner that I had on that, he bailed out, and he texted me recently with some pictures about the whole Pudgy Penguins thing, and he's just like, man, I'm like, yeah, I know, right? But we also had our own line of other stuffed animals that were in like Spencer's. They just weren't like aligned in NFTs yet at the time, and they were born of it. So that was like an interesting thing to see, where you're sitting there like, shoot, I was doing that, and now we're seeing it. And it's kind of it sucks like seeing it in a personal way, especially like as an artist. And like another part of that topic layer is like, it definitely is that lifetime of the art and the hardships and the love and the hate and depression and whatever that got you through those times, and the training and the skills and the money that was put into that. It's like, that's where a lot of that pricing and value comes from, where it's like, sure, you might look at it as, it only took me this long to do this, but it's because of all the years of skill that got me to that level to do it that fast. It's like some art pieces could take me a year to finish, some I still haven't finished, and some I can knock out a whole collection in like a week. So it's like, that's a value in any skill that should be like respected more, because anybody in my life that ever used to say these things, like, if you spent half as much time as you do on blank as you do on art, imagine what you could do. And it's like, well, here I am now. But those same people that said that loved Marvel movies, they loved fantasy things, they loved everything about their life was a love for art and culture that would be nothing without the artists who put in this time. And like, this idea of friend tech kind of makes me laugh, because I tried, well, not tried, I'm still in the process of doing something. I think it's funny because a lot of these people with the friend tech, they start trying to cover their ass by being like, oh, I'm going to give you knowledge that I have, right? But it's already knowledge you're offering for free, trying to get your following, right? And they're trying to offer these rewards. And it's like, well, shit, I already did that. It's like, I did that with an NFT, like the eye that I'm wearing. And, I decided to do that as an artist, not to shill, but just more as like informational. I wanted to just release something that's for me, because I was doing like commissions for other people, but it felt weird just doing a PFP for the sake of PFP in this day. So I was like, well, screw it. I'm a professional artist. I do a lot of work commission stuff. So why don't I just be like, if you hold so and so many of these eyes, you can then claim a commission from me for personal professional use. And it's just funny seeing how like I went from you kind of see these things unfold as you like dream about these ideas, and then these products and things start happening around you. It almost seems like people started stealing your ideas. You start to get these weird feels from it, but it's like, just keeping through it and providing is going to put you above and keep you like working where you are. That's the reason I've been able to compete with changing markets. Coming from being an artist who sells his art to just selling his skill and selling his art on the side to be a working artist, production as well as personal, and learning just the avenues of what people kind of finagle things, but then finding something that I could actually give to it is organic, right? So I just love that all those concepts came to light in like a lot of the things that are on my mind. So hopefully I didn't ramble too much, but I hope that kind of just shed light from an artist's point of view and like a lot of these different topics.
Yeah, well, I mean, and hopefully, like, obviously, I don't think anyone's stealing an idea of trying to get their toys in the Walmart, right?
Right.
But I did look, and Smith's is not really like a Walmart; it's more like an actual toy store. So that's pretty cool that it's an international brand. But I think that what it does is it opens the possibility now. I mean, that's just the first one to get into Walmart. There will be many more, as well as other. Who's got the Target? Who's
That's
got
the best
Kmart?
thing, right?
I mean,
That's what people like to celebrate rather than go, woe is me, is that just proves that it can be done.
yeah, especially at Kmart. I mean, there's none left here. Those Kmarts are now event centers, but there's got to be a Kmart somewhere. Maybe who's gonna take over the Dollar Generals? I mean, how many NFT toys are you gonna sell in Dollar Generals? Probably a lot. It's not even gonna have to be a dollar. Is anything a dollar in a Dollar General anymore? I don't think so. But
No, it's not.
yeah, that kind of concludes. Yeah, nothing is right now.
No, we I live
Maybe
in a
not
small
even gum
town,
anymore.
so that's one of the few grocery stores that we have as an option, and yeah, there's nothing is a dollar anymore. I think it's $1.25 at the dollar store.
Yeah, they got to take care of the tax too. Charge your tax, but also tax it. But yeah, so Would love to dive in real quick. Talk to Toli and Misty about some things, and everyone, feel free to jump in. Raise your hand if you have any questions. But before we do, the last thing I wanted to touch regarding the news was we had a Forbes article go out today from Jordan on the stage here. He thinks that NFTs are dead, and we'd like to hear his take. And if you want to give us a summary, I still have to read it because you sent it to me right before TopeTalk started, so I haven't had a chance to go through it.
Okay, yeah. Well, so this is kind of a conclusion on like a 4-part series or 3 parts. I don't even remember. Like a 3-part series that I wrote for Forbes Tech Council, and just starting off talking about the overall branding problem that NFTs have. And going into like all the revolutionary technologies that the blockchain facilitates, and how, and then I discussed like why a shift toward digital collectibles is dangerous as a name, because digital collectibles are a fraction of what NFTs represent. And as a lawyer, as a tech builder in the space, like there's so much more than digital collectibles and the connotation that surrounds the word non-fungible token. So especially as of late, seeing all the fraud, the people that have been burnt, and just kind of all the negativity in the space, I think we need a rebrand of the name non-fungible token, because it is honestly a terrible name. Like most people don't understand the concept of fungibility. But with that said, I'm begging all of you and the community as a whole and the space as a whole to really not use digital collectibles as a crutch, because then it minimizes what this revolutionary technology is. So in terms of a larger blanket term, I spent a long time thinking about like what these things are, and the best I could come up with was a unique digital collectible, or UDR. Might not be the catchiest thing, but to me that really defines what it is, because there's a specificity element. These are records, right? So I think the best analogy that I can make is if you look at what the California DMV is doing with putting car titles on chain. You might have a collectible car, but that's not what's on chain. What you have is the record. You have the title that you can put on chain. And that is certainly not a digital collectible. And there's a legitimate use case for having the blockchain represent that, rather than having to use the DMV or county clerk for a house title. So Nar, I see you got your hand up. Happy to get anybody's insights on this. But the last thing I will say is did some research on name changes and rebrands, right? X, for example, but let's take Elon out of the equation right now. There's certainly a reason why Facebook went to Meta, Google to Alphabet. That's probably more legal reasons for a holding company. But you even look at classics like Brad's Drink. I bet nobody out here knows what Brad's Drink is. Brad's Drink was the original name for Pepsi before it became a household name. You look at actually Google, before it became Alphabet and before it became Google, was originally called Backrub. So there are clearly reasons why you need name changes and different things. So that's kind of the overarching thesis and philosophy in these articles.
Go ahead, Nar.
Yeah, I had 2 different ideas. I completely agree with you. NFT needs to be just go away. Same thing like Wi-Fi doesn't actually stand for anything. It's just, that's the branding. I had the idea of digital ownership token. Crypto Medic told me that sounds like Department of Transportation. But I also had about a digital asset token.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
A DAX, or a blockchain asset token, a BAT. That was one that I just thought of. The other one was blockchain ownership token, but I don't think we need another definition for a bot.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, because it's like, I mean, the reality is that that most people aren't like. It would be very cool if we could come back to this recording the day that this article was published and say, "Oh, hey, remember these like UDR things that have become widely adopted? Oh, here's the origin of that." Like, I realize that is not the likely scenario. I just want to encourage the conversation, and I do like many of those names. I mean, the reason we selected unique was for that there to refer to that specificity, to the uniqueness, and kind of address that aspect and the discretion and just nonsense around fungibility. Digital, obviously, it's digital, and it's a digital representation and something that can be transferred digitally, but still prove ownership digitally. And then record, because there's enough. My only disagreement on the token aspect is there's just so much about tokens and what does that mean. And these things truly are a record. I mean, that's one of the pure things about inscriptions with Bitcoin. They are actually like indelibly inscribed. But yeah, I certainly does not need to be UDR.
All right. Mr. Tolley, what's up?
Let me know if I am rugging. Okay, I was starting my phone. Just let me know.
You sound perfectly good.
Okay, thank God. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Jordan, that, NFT, it's fucking ugly. It's like, we don't call the internet the HTTP, right? It's, it's got a name that kind of describes it generally, right? And digital collectible really kind of undermines the tech behind all of this, because it just makes me think like a digital Pokemon card. I just collect it. It doesn't say anything about massive potential for utility behind it. So yeah, like I mean, it looks like things are trending in a direction of digital collectible, right? That's what Reddit's called. That's what these web brands are calling it. But I don't know. I feel like it might be hard to shift to something else when Web 2 is already being primed with the digital collectible kind of on a word, but it's it absolutely does not properly represent what an NFT can do.
Right. And again, I don't think digital collectibles need to go away, but I really want the world, I guess, or the space and Web 2 space as people come in to understand that digital collectibles are merely one element of this. And like you said, the technology is bigger than that. It's just digital collectibles are simply one bucket.
Go ahead, Knight.
And it's like, I'm glad you brought up the things earlier about just perception on different brands too. And it's like, look at things like even like Under Armour. Under Armour as a product almost didn't make it just because people thought it was ridiculous. And, this whole spandexy material turning into clothes, and like, look at everybody now. It makes up half of everybody's clothes. And you just kind of, a lot of things, they don't get big until they've been kind of scoffed at because people are too used to the norm. So I think it's a big push in that perception, the verbiage and stuff. And, I think we need to kind of maybe start with identifying what Web3 is to people versus just getting into blockchain and stuff too, because, there's this idea that, owning something digital just gets scoffed at because the whole right click save, commentary. But people just have different perceptions on that and scoff at it because they just think of it in a certain way because it's new. And it's no different than taking a picture of something, right? You take a picture of a rose bush, doesn't mean you grew the rose bush or own it. You take a picture of Taj Mahal, it doesn't mean you built it, But it's like there's, all these different ways that people are just engineered to think about certain things so that when they're new, obviously they're going to get scoffed at because A, how we carry ourselves, and B, the words we use to describe it. I've long tried to tell people, it's like we'd only segregate ourselves by getting this idea of IRL and metaverse, Web3 versus Web2. And it's just like you explain AI and digital ownership to people, they don't understand. We've been using it forever. And it's just now that it's becoming the forefront of what we're talking about. Is it really something that we really break down? People forget AI and probability factors. They forget about AI in the games that you play in an NPC. They forget about, owning a website and a web domain. And, just some of the basics that are just everyday things that people take for granted that really align with the technology and where this stuff's going. It's like we just kind of.
Oh, I think we're losing you, Knight.
But yeah, I think I pretty much got it out there. Just need baby spoons fed.
Yeah, baby spoons, right? And baby steps, apparently. We've been definitely taking some baby steps. What's going on, Misty?
I think to kind of piggyback a little bit off of what Knight was saying, I think the terminology is chosen based off of fear. I feel like when you steer away from the term digital collectibles and you start using things like digital assets, or you start talking about it in a different manner that kind of gives the assumption that there is a passive income available from owning said tokens, like that's when you start treading in a area that people are not really familiar with. Government can come and get you, since it is the wild wild west and Web3 and NFTs. I kind of feel like that's a place of, and they don't want to give false promises to things, and I think that collectible is safe, and I think that that's why.
Man, Twitter nasty to people today. Just you get going, and right when they get to like Misty's right to the point what she thought it was, and it just cut her out. Misty, do you want to finish, or did you finish up? Might have lost her. We did have Kamars. Did you want to add to that, Kamars?
It's up to each of us that are in the space to change that perception. You know, the media spins it however they want to spin it. But at the end of the day, we're the ones here every single day. We're the ones building every single day. We're the ones that see the inner workings. And as users and educators and creators and builders, it's up to us to put the truth out there. It's up to us to lead by example. It's up to us to educate.
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, it seems as you know, right now people still go to the media for everything, but this is the decentralized world, and over time, I think we as us will start to have a larger voice. It takes consistency, and it takes time, and we're having, I think it's great to see Web 2 style like Forbes and these other type of Bloombergs, as they start to come into the space more with the articles, they're going to start going to people that have better reputations and that know what, that have that vision, because they've tried that other route. And I think that also, one of the good things about this FTX trial, getting some of the bad actors out, it shows that like there is hope, and there's actually thought leaders that will, I think, emerge from people that are coming out of the industry that people looked up to, such as like the Sam Bankman-Fried. So look forward to seeing more of these emerging thought leaders, display themselves. And like you said, it's up to us, and that's where the thought leaders come from. Go ahead, Tully.
So I can kind of play off of what Misty was saying, and it kind of contradicts what I said before about the name digital collectible. The reality is yes, like we all know that it's a lot more than a digital collectible, but calling it that may actually be a big benefit because it makes it sound fun. NFT, a non-fungible token, that's the most boring shit ever. Calling it a digital collectible introduces you to that world, right? It sounds fun, right? It's like appealing to the mind, but you'll eventually learn through the experiences that these brands build, like Courtyard, Pokemon cards, Pudgy Penguins with their traits. It's a lot more than a digital collectible, right? There's a massive structure that can be built underneath it, that people will get introduced to it through the proxy of something that sounds fun, right? And so could, even though it doesn't properly represent a non-fungible token, non-fungible token doesn't like really probably represent it either, but like sacrificing the truth behind what it's representing, we're potentially getting more adoption, which might be good for us in the long run. That's my opinion. Yeah, it's my opinion on the on like as far as like how it sounds, the user experience of it. Digital collectible is definitely sound fun. It's sort of people to the deeper world of blockchain as a result.
Got it, man. Go ahead, Kamart.
But see, like a guy like me, and Missy knows, Nightman knows, a guy like me, I don't beat around the bush. I don't sugarcoat things. I call it exactly like it is. And sometimes it comes across as being rude, sometimes arrogant, sometimes just out in left field because I don't have a filter. I don't lie. And it really rubs people the wrong way. And I'm okay with that because I also understand that I'm never going to please 100% of the people 100% of the time. Okay. And it doesn't matter if I was giving away 1,000 Bitcoin right now in this space. I guarantee you there are Bitcoin maxis out there that would be madder than hell because I just devalued Bitcoin. Okay. So while everybody in the space would be happy, Bitcoin maxis sure wouldn't be. Now, so I'm not okay with the term digital collectible. While it can be a collectible, absolutely. I have thousands of them that I've bought over the last 2 years. Okay. And some of them are dead and gone. Some of them have been removed. Some of them are still here. But great. I've collected a few digital images. Okay. But that's not the intent. That wasn't the purpose. That wasn't the whole reason behind getting into some of those pieces or those collections or those brands. Okay. There's a facade of reasons as to why I collected the pieces I collected. I've collected pieces from Misty. I've collected pieces. I think I've got one or two from Nightman. I've got pieces from several other people. Some of them I bought simply because I wanted to support the people behind the pieces. Didn't have anything to do with the art, didn't have anything to do with the utility, didn't have anything to do with nothing, except I wanted to show my love and support for those creators. Okay, so no, I'm not going to sugarcoat things for anybody. I'm just not. That's not who I am. And you know what? If it upsets some people, well, sorry about it. There's a door. And that's just, I don't know. I don't think we need to try and protect people. I think that's part of the problem in general is that people are so sensitive that you have to be quote unquote politically correct. Fuck that. I'm not politically correct.
Yeah, I mean, politically correct is definitely part of the vocabulary for a lot of media. But I do, you can do. That's the greatest thing about Web3 is you're able to be who you want to be and do what you want to do. And if that's the way you want to run your business, that is completely your decision. And I think there's a place for everybody in this world, and there's definitely a place for people that aren't politically correct. I think that obviously the average consumer, the normal person does want a safe haven sometimes. So they do look at specific people that maybe aren't, and their information they get isn't always the best, but I just think that some people can't handle it. So they go, they'll take somebody that's not as blunt or straightforward. And that just might not be your consumer. That might not be the persona that you want to be a part of your community anyway. So go ahead, Knight.
Yeah, there's a good factor to that too, where it's just kind of I try to operate in a similar way. I do have more degen tone to spaces and have more business tone to certain spaces, but at the end of the day, you always get me. So there's never any gotcha moments. There's never any pulling of this veil, oh shit, this is what this guy's really like, right? And that's just personal preference. But that brings me to another point where here it's kind of it's hard to be in this space while doing what we're doing because it drastically changes your perception and how you treat the space and how you approach it based on where you sit. If you're just a degen investor, if you're a whale investor, if you're a business investor, or if you're a creator, a founder, an artist, where you are in this building game and how you work changes. Where you sit is going to change how you act here, how you see the space happening. And I think personally, the whole digital collectible idea went out the window with the idea of utility. And it might sound a little whatever, but it's as an artist, I feel that utility killed art as NFTs because it didn't become, they're not NFT projects with utilities. They're just projects with NFTs, and most of these NFTs utilities is just access to membership, access to merchandise. It's nothing really, anything you can use, or just learn how to sell houses and MLM type bullshit. It's utility killed the art, and then it turned it from a collectible to a commodity to a pass, a membership. And I used to be able to sell collectibles as an idea to the right crowd. Depending on the crowd, I could spin whatever they liked into it. Whether you like sports, whether you like sports cards, whether you like Pokemon, everything in our life, tchotchkes here and there. People collect things because they love things, right? So it's it was easy to tie that into this space and find some functionality from what they loved as a hobby or something that they collected. But once we started muddying it with all this bullcrap,
everybody just got telescope vision on what they could create instead of putting the time in and finishing what they started, because they don't understand what a real business is like. Most of them have never worked for a startup or been a part of something that could take 2 to 6 years to become a full business, or as a board member to see ROI. And there's just no patience here. It's just there's the rush for the immediate upsell, and then people started to see art, and maybe they wanted to put on airs to seem like that's what they're here for. But we all need to make a profit for what we do. But not everybody here is doing profitable things and expecting to make money. But it's a lot about where you sit and like how you can conform that to the right perception to bring the people in and bring them in on what they understand, type of thing. But also just understanding that the people here, you're not gonna have the same, whether they're an intelligent person or not, same people in the crowd, same people on the stage, just based on how they work in this space.
Yeah, man. No, I agree. And yeah, utility is such a devastating word to an artist that just like was focused on something like, their craft and their skill, and then all of a sudden it's like they almost had to stretch themselves to be up to what everyone else expected or thought that was, oh, I see this project has utility. What's your utility? And it's like, well, if you don't have utility, I don't need your collection. Then it just took away from the entire point in the beginning. So I appreciate, Kamar's being, somebody who just wants to support somebody else. And he did that, and it didn't require anything else. And I've got a whole hidden folder on OpenSea with all those people I've supported. But go ahead, Tully.
I just touch on what Kamar was saying there about what sounds like frustration between with having to put on veil or essentially lie about what it is NFTs are. If I understood it right, it's like there has to be oftentimes a stark difference between what something is and what people think it is. It's like ideally, I mean, the world would be a much simpler place if things were seen exactly as they are. But the reality is like when you're building a company, there's a massive difference between the product and what people think the product is. Like the value and the perceived value. It's in regards to NFTs versus digital collectibles, it'd be nice if Web2 adopted NFT, but the reality is they don't give a fuck about Web3. They don't give a fuck at all what we have going on here. We have to come to them. We have to cater to them and their minds, right? This is what Pudgy's doing. Just putting these cute ass little plushies in Walmart to trick people into buying these plushies because they're cute, and trick them into scanning this QR code to unlock some trait packs, which they can go use in the Pudgy World game. They don't know it, but they've just been onboarded into Web3, and they love every step of the way, right? That's the right way to do it. That's the right way to do it, is to cater to people's minds and their psychology to get them to adopt your thing, right? It'd be a lot easier. Trust me. Like I agree. I wish that everybody was just a no BS kind of attitude, just told it exactly how it is. The reality is that's not the way that it is. Like everybody here has a PFP on them. Yeah. Am I right?
No, you're good. I was sorry. I thought you were done. I was going to add because you're hitting it on the nail. You're hitting it right on the nail.
Yeah. Every single person up here, they have a profile picture, right? And even you, Commons, if you've got a profile picture, like if you were truly like a no BS kind of guy, you would be representing a picture of your face. But for some reason, you feel that your PFP represents you better in this world than your actual self, right? And that's fine. That's okay. Like I feel like this crazy ass bear with a honeypot on its head and an eye patch represents my personality better than a picture of my face. So this idea of having a veil, or a second layer, on top of the truth of whatever it is you're selling or representing is a good thing to do. So I'll just keep it.
Yeah, and I was going to just add, man, there's a review. It's like someone's grandmother, and it's like, I went to the Walmart and I picked up these cute little animals, and then all of a sudden my grandson or something, it's just a scam to get you to go to crypto and NFTs. Like, oh my god. Like, yeah, they're pretty much finagling you. Yeah, check out this really cute little plushie. And by the way, you're gonna have to, go unlock these online. Oh yeah, that's an NFT. And that grandmother put that review on Walmart. I was dying when I read it. I was like, damn, somebody caught them. But
These fluffy penguins are a scam.
yeah,
Jesus, imagine that.
cute toys, but a total scam. Don't buy the toy because it's got internet attached to it.
I bet you
Drain
got
my
some
bank
lottery
account.
tickets after that too, because that's not a scam or nothing.
Yeah, but like it's kind of funny. The golden ticket with Willy Wonka was the same thing. Like, oh yeah, like that was, and everyone loves Willy Wonka, but you don't get chocolate, you get digital collectibles, and that's where the line is drawn. So go ahead, Kamards. By the way, guys, we're gonna start wrapping up here shortly, so I'd love to get Kamards, and then we'll do some closing thoughts with everybody.
So, number one, as far as the frustration, totally, I'm not really frustrated. I just don't care. I do what I do. I enjoy what I do. People pay me $300 an hour with 2% of their project to do what I do. And not everybody's going to want to do that, but there are a lot of people out there that do, a lot of brands within this space that do, because I'm forthcoming. And let me ask you a question, and everybody can answer this if you choose to, but would you rather have somebody that sugarcoats things for you and beats around the bush for you and holds your hand and says, oh, it's going to be okay, sweetheart? Or would you have somebody like me who's going to tell you exactly like it is, exactly what to expect, exactly how you're going to be able to overcome this, or you're not going to be able to overcome that? Me personally, I want the guy that's going to be a dick to me and say, Comard, that is not how you do business. Why? Because that's how I'm going to learn, and so that's just kind of where I'm at. But no, I'm not
But
frustrated.
we're talking about technology here, not people. Technology and
but
people
it is people.
It's a little bit of
Technology is
both. I
not
think it
people.
requires both.
I think that it starts with the people, though. And the Pudgy Penguins, we'll use them as an example since you guys brought them up. I went out the day they released at my local and bought 20 of them. Okay, they're all sitting now in my storage unit, not doing a damn thing other than collecting dust. Okay, so yeah, it was a gimmick to try and get people onboarded, but it wasn't necessarily what I would consider to be a scam. And the other side of it is that not everybody is going to utilize those QR codes anyway. I bought 3 of those for my littles just to play with, and my littles are 2, 3, and 4 years old. So you know what? They're not ever going to use those QR codes. I didn't even use those QR codes. I threw the boxes and codes away because I don't care. I bought them for my kids to enjoy, and they do. They absolutely love them, and now they're sleeping with them every day. So I don't know. I don't really feel like it was a scam or anything like that. It was an opportunity and a option. Nobody's forcing these people to use these codes.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
I don't think anyone thinks it's a scam. And if you want to go to the trash and get those, I'll definitely scan those codes for you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And you're not the target audience, Comards. Like, the target audience is the people that are just completely unaware about what's going on, and they're, oh cool, there's like some cool little online feature for this. For you, like, you don't do anything for Pudgy. Like, I'm gonna made like a couple pennies of margin from you, and that's it. But you're not the target audience, right? Like, that's the thing is there are people out there that genuinely are being onboarded into Web3 when they weren't before.
Yeah, that's the truth. I mean, they're not trying to convert people that already know what Web3 is or what, that they're actually, like, if they give it 1% of, like, 5 million people, gosh, 1% is 5,000, right? Like 5,000 new, like, online users of, like, their traits and stuff, and getting into the ecosystem through Pudgy is really the goal. I mean, imagine if they got 5,000 people like a month. That would be freaking insane as they start to keep progressing on. Like, now you got Walmart. How hard do you think it's going to be to go these other ecosystems?
Most projects would settle for 5 right now, right?
Yeah. you're going to find somebody that like just, and it's not everybody. And that's the thing. Like that's their target
Well,
market. I mean, they're
and
going
they've
to
already
make money
sold them.
from the
Sold them
retail.
to the distributors, so it's like they've already made their money. Now it's up to the other stores to sell it. So it's like in the end,
Yeah.
made it.
Yeah, but then they'll find the residual. They'll find ways to, through that onboarding. I mean, imagine if you get someone just that goes on and puts in their email and then doesn't move forward. Now you've got ways to retarget and send them like updates on toys and stuff, and eventually you could convert another 0.5%. Like those things all add up. So I like you, Kamar's. Like I personally would get the toys to like I'm gonna get some for Christmas gifts. I'm not. I'll give them the box and everything. It can be their decision if they want to go farther. Obviously, they know I'm part of NFT, so maybe it'll be a little bit more. But that's really I think another way that they're going to find conversions is from Web3 people that are getting these as gifts for other people. Maybe not for 2 and 4 year olds, that it's going to make a lot of sense to go scan a QR. But like if I get this to like a teenager, like, hey, I got you some cool stuff from the NFT world. There's a code in there. Like if you want to check it out. Otherwise, it might be a collectible when it's in the future. Like my grandmother, I've got a whole box of what are those things called? Those little beanie babies? Yeah. I got so many beanie babies coming out of I don't even have room for like my clothes or anything in storage because I just have boxes of these things that my grandmother left me. I think some in there are like very rare, like that have like defects or like, that's where the more like collectibles are, the ones that actually have issues with them versus the ones that are just completely mint. Like if the tag has a different date than what's supposed to be, or it's missing a letter, those things are worth thousands of dollars. It's absolutely insane. The Beanie Babies were a prime example of collectibles, regular collectibles gone wrong because everyone, their mother, there's millions out there. So it's so diluted that like Beanie Babies are worth like a couple bucks on eBay and nobody wants them. So that's just the prime example of what not to do. And I think Pudgy will not end up at that level. Go ahead, Misty.
Something you guys don't know about me, I'm a big toy collector. I have a lot of Gen 1 Transformers. I have like original He-Man, Battle Cat and stuff like that. But my point is those original Ronald McDonald House tie Beanie Babies that you're talking about that have the issues on the tags are actually worth $28,000 for the
Yep.
4-piece set. So with that being said, I actually think that Pudgy Penguins did an amazing job using a very old marketing tactic, which is directing it toward children in one of the largest retailers right before the holidays, which, no matter how you look at it or how you want to discuss it, that's going to put those plushies visually in their mind, whether they understand Web3, NFTs, or any of that. Just like you think about Club Penguin at your age now, or you think about Bart Simpson from your age then, or whatever, those brands are now identifiable to you and in your core memory as something from your childhood. And they are basically planting the seed with Pudgy Penguins with what they're doing now for the next 5-10 years. And then on top of all of that, not only are they targeting the children, which is awesome, but they're also targeting the parents of children who are familiar with Web3. So, and then of course, just the holders of Pudgy Penguin by themselves. I mean, so they're really tackling 3 or 4 different markets with that strategy. And I thought it was absolutely genius.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it's genius. I was making the joke that like the defected ones of Beanie Babies, like the one if you have the collection, like the 4 like country or the seasons, those are cool. But man, if you just got like a little stingray or you got like a little walrus, you might as well just give it to your dog. Go ahead, Tully.
I'll just do one last thing here. It's what you said about the like. It's easy to get a Web2 person a little plushie as an introduction to Web3. They might get plugged in, they might not. I don't think there's a chance they will. A lot easier than trying to send them an NFT, right? Because you can't. They need to have a wallet, right? So, I think it's just brilliant overall. And I think UPNets is a mastermind in marketing here. So, really, really excited for what they're going to do. The Pudgy World game is, it just reminds me of Penguin Chat, and it kind of looks like Among Us, right? They really kind of doubled down on that. It's really going to attract the gamer audience, which has traditionally been like super anti NFT, and they still are, right? And so, if that can blow up, that's going to onboard an entirely different set of users. Right? Mega bullish on
Games. I was going to say, Epic Games is talking about taking all those Fortnite skins that they've released over the years and all the different weapons and all the different packs and turning them into NFTs. So, you know, with that though, we also know that Fortnite has a massive amount of various products out there on the shelves, whether it's t-shirts, whether it's trading cards, whether it's even I've seen action figures for Fortnite. So I don't think that Pudgy Penguins is the first to utilize, you know, children, or to utilize the real world marketplace, whether it's Walmart, Target, Sears, whatever. Um, oh my God, I just gave my age away. but I don't think that these companies that are out here doing this are doing anything inappropriate in that term or sense. You know, I think what they're doing is adding digital value to real world problems, and they're offering a solution potentially for those individuals. I have a friend of mine who's a clothing designer. They're getting ready to release a clothing line through Walmart. Well, part of their clothing line is going to transmit them into the crypto Web3 world. Why? Because he's going to provide those clothes digitally as assets for the metaverse. Freaking brilliant. Okay, so he's solving a real world problem that people need to be dressed, right? But now you're going to get these clothes in the metaverse.
Yeah, you just need people to play the metaverse, I guess you could say. Go ahead, Misty.
My entire project that's being developed right now is based around bringing Web3 commerce to gaming. You know, I want the entire business first to be built in, you know, on Epic Games servers and platforms for the sole purpose of people being able to own real estate in the metaverse and operate businesses. So all of the NFTs that would be created there would be products and things that people would sell in their stores, basically bringing Amazon to Web3, if you will. So you could actually shop in a playable world, but purchase items and things from shops and businesses that really exist. I've been spending the greater part of the last year teaching our entire community about getting their LLCs and property taxes and just, you know, gains tax and just all these different things to prepare people from a more business perspective of what it's like. But I guess it all comes back full circle to the original topic of this conversation, which is people calling things digital assets and digital collectibles. To me, collectibles is something that's more something you keep for a specific purpose, like a hobby or something that you enjoy. And an asset is something that could provide you some kind of utility or usage. And I think that it just all comes back down to not just being in the metaverse for no reason, but having a very specific reason that people can work there and actually be there providing for their families in it. And that's literally the entire premises for the business verse.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I mean, a couple of things I'd love to see is job opportunities being created. You know, you're going to need staffing for some of this stuff, providing, you know, different experiences for depending on what is being sold. And, you know, I want to own some gas stations. Maybe you got some cars rolling around and a Crypto Chris G gas station there. You know, you can pay in the currency on the metaverse, and I'll come out there in my, you know, with my Oculus on, and I'll pump your gas for you. You know, maybe even get a
Well,
squeegee out, you know, get the windshield a little bit. Maybe you got some metaverse bugs on it. Like, you never know.
I I had a small business before COVID happened, and I owned and operated a gamer bakery for 5 years. That gamer bakery was doing so well, so successful. COVID hit and just wiped me out. I was considered an arcade, a place where people could meet up and you know, do fireside gatherings and things like that. Plus, it was an eating establishment, and so I was like one of the last people that could reopen, and I was one of the first people that was shut down as an entertainment venue. And that devastated my family, you know, being able to be in the business first and being able to own and operate a business in there and still it be up and running, selling my products, goods, and services through an online management or crypto payment system in the metaverse, playing an avatar of an NFT that I have, but also being able to ship the real products to people when they purchase them. You know, that's a big deal. And then, and even business owners like me can hire virtual employees that play as employees as avatars. You know, I recently talked to the guys about this. I had a meeting with Mercedes Benz because they were looking for me to build an actual dealership in the business first. They would have to hire a full-time avatar, a player that would be in there talking in the voice chat, explaining the ins and outs of Mercedes and talking to them. And people could actually tour the vehicles in the business first by sitting in them via VR and looking around and actually purchasing with cryptocurrency and having the car shipped to your location. I mean, so these are a lot of really big tech things that I'm working on with my project. And I know I'm not the only one working on these kinds of things, but there's so much more to a metaverse than I think people give it credit for.
Yeah, and that reminds me of like what I did through my 20s when I was a product specialist for Toyota, and I stood on top of those turntables in front of, the course of a year, millions of people would roll through. I mean, sometimes even at like the Chicago Auto Show, there would be 10 plus thousand people surrounding a table, and I'm introducing an FT1 concept, future Toyota, which now today is the Supra. That was, quite the experience. But imagine if if you don't have to travel to the convention center and you have these type of auto shows for people to go in and really get that information. That's not a salesperson as well. I mean, the budget for what I used to do, just my clothes that Toyota provided me was over, $10,000-$20,000 of Hugo Boss suits. The travel was all included. Staying in the hotels was all included. Per diems. Imagine if you get a budget for metaverse. I mean, it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars for for maybe different metaverse settings, depending, and different dates around the world, different launches. Maybe Ford comes out with a new fastback. There'll be ways that they'll be able to drive in some of the Web 2 audience that, they don't want. Maybe they just need an Oculus. And then if you got an Oculus, you can go and attend these things, these digital showcases of up and coming stuff. I mean, I would love that opportunity to go in there and see that kind of thing, as well as, online video games, man. Go and play some poker with some friends and stuff. There, obviously, we know these use cases. So I'm not going to dive into that stuff. But let's definitely get to the hands here. And Nar, you're next.
Thank you. Yeah, that's okay, yeah, there's my train of thought back. Thank you. That is what my my project does with assets, is provide that platform for exercising IP as well. Love to hear that, Misty. That's just amazing of what you're doing with your community there. I've heard you speak on a couple of different spaces, and just I always learn something new about all of the individuals. So it's has to be the focus of companies, and creating and being strategic in how they're releasing products and using things that are from traditional business, but also understanding, I think, what Nightman was talking about, of there's the archetypes of the when we're talking about of who we're going to be selling to that are still in Web3, but it's really just how can this apply to things out in the world? How can we provide products or services or experiences that get people excited, that make them want to show up, that get them talking about it, telling their friends about it? Is ultimately it's the experience and how we make them feel in it. So that's what I've been here to do, is to just educate and help to support as many people as I can through this with what I've learned in the traditional business world.
Perfect. We're going to finish up with hands here, and then we'll do some closing thoughts, guys. Let's go over to Night.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it's like kind of going back to like that whole art and bringing utility into it as well. Is like when I started my Genesis. Hold on, Kayla, I'll be done just a sec. When I started, my Genesis, a lot of you probably have seen it or own one. It was the Stuffy Bunny NFT, and it was something that was kind of birthed with like a friend of mine. Sadly using me to kind of like be this artistic hand he didn't have, but he just kept kind of like showing my art to people, and then they gravitated towards something they saw in it. But I went early on and kind of decided to make it family friendly, because there's just so much degen stuff out there, and I hated just how saturated stuff was with that. So I made it family friendly. But I think the key to it there wasn't just that it was family friendly, and there's probably more kids that hold customs of those than the parents, because they fell in love with the fact that as an artist, I was doing it one-on-one with them, and they got to design a custom by being holders. So there was the generatives, and then there was the customs, where I actually sat down one-on-one with 100 people, or however many people owned customs, and some had multiple, and sat down one-on-one and brought their vision to life. So it was like these kids, and what really kind of spurred that on, and will always live in their minds and mine as well, is that they would submit these like drawing references to their characters instead. So it's kind of like those memes and cute little heartwarming videos where you see people sending their children's art to artists to bring it to life and stuff. So it was like these kids started submitting like this idea for their one-of-ones, these customs that were their customs, not just a prefab one-of-one. That they got to draw this thing, create this thing, and bring it to life. And some kids, I molded it off of their loved stuffed animal, and that's what people saw, was this thing that they attach this attachment to of like my stuffed animal that I had my whole life, and it's now kind of beaten and bruised, and that's what like really sat with the people's minds. And just like with the terminology we're trying to bring and birth into this space and all this stuff, it's like we have to capture the future audience. I think a lot of us are just kind of showing our age with how we go about things, and that's the tough part with like transitioning into this new age. But we really have to think about the youth and how much they're going to spend this and how much of a digital world they're going into, and that we have to kind of leave behind these old ideologies. And the kids is a great aspect as a marketing tool, as not a scheme or even a ploy. It's just get in there and get known. So I think that what they did was a huge success for all of us in general, just by being out there and putting more light onto something that's physical in this digital world.
Yep, I agree. We'll go ahead and finish up with Kamar's.
So just a couple of points I want to make here. Number one, I met Misty almost 2 years ago through another project brand that I don't even think exists anymore. And she and I connected, and we had gotten a bond. And so I've known about what it is that Misty's been trying to build for the last year and a half, give or take. And I'm absolutely honored to be a part of that and to do whatever I can to help her be successful. But, one of the things that I've been doing out here in the non-digital world is trying to onboard Web2 businesses into Web3 and showing them how simple it is to even just start accepting crypto for your business, even at a local level. And guys, I live in a town with like maybe 2,500 people. So it's a small town. I've got a gas station, I've got a hospital, I've got a school, and I think I've got a mom and pop's diner and a McDonald's. Those are pretty much what we have in our town. And it starts there. As far as the youth goes, and touching on what Nightman was saying, you know what? Kids are the future. So much so that almost 2 years ago, when I created my account here on X, that I created a second account for my daughter under Baby Comard's NFTs. Okay. Now she is 2, but she's starting to produce artwork. And so one of the things that I'm looking to do in the future is for her to be able to, number one, post that. Number two, share that with the world. And because she's growing up in it, it's not going to be any kind of certain way for her. And so I guess what I would say is that everything we do, it doesn't matter what our goals are, what our aspirations are, it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, it's all about perception. Okay. And Tully kind of touched on it when he was talking about, that I seemed frustrated because, a lot of people want to sugarcoat things for Web2 people and things like that. And that's not me. But it's about their perception. Okay. The way I perceive something is going to be completely different than the way Tully perceives it or than the way Misty perceives it, and that's okay. I just feel like that we as a unified group or I hate the word community. People have made it such a nasty, dirty word, but for lack of better words, a community of people that utilize and believe in what Web3 stands for. It is up to us to onboard those people and meet their expectations, regardless of whether I agree with it or Nightman agrees with it, or if crypto agrees with it. It's up to us to do it our way that works for us, that fits with our morals, our values, and our perceptions. I don't think there's really necessarily any right or wrong way, short of scamming somebody or blatantly lying to somebody in regards to getting more people in the space. And the reality of it is that Web3 and specifically metaverse is huge, huge. And it's only going to get bigger because you have companies like Amazon buying up hundreds of thousands of plots in different metaverse properties. Okay, you have companies like Walmart that is buying hundreds of thousands of acres. And now Mercedes is talking to Misty about buying property from her and building a dealership. And I'm sure Mercedes isn't the first one. Okay, the reality of it is that people are going to start using these digital assets for real world utility. Do I see Ready Player One? No. Do I see the potential for other things like Surrogate with Bruce Willis in it? Yeah. Do I see the potential for, Sword Art Online? Absolutely. But again, I think it all comes back to our perceptions and to cater to our target audience. And if you're in this space, you're trying to conduct business, you need to know exactly who your target is. My target specifically are business owners that want to take their business to the next level. Okay. Because at the end of the day, for me, it's about business, and it's about putting food in my daughter's belly and a roof over her head and kicking this cancer's ass. So that's what it's about for me.
Gotcha, bro. Fuck cancer. And with that, appreciate everyone being here today. We went an hour and a half, which is fantastic. We do this every Thursday, 6 p.m. Today's guest was Tolly. Definitely check out Bad Bears. He's building out some cool stuff with that side. I definitely think once him and I get more aligned on like something he's doing on I don't know if I can even say it, so I'll just leave it quiet. But thanks for being here, Tolly, and thanks for everyone else for jumping up, making a great conversation of the people that stopped by and listened in. I hope everyone has a great evening. We're going to go ahead and let Enzo, our top G in the building, give us a nice little farewell till next Thursday. And yeah, we'll be here next Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll have World of Women joining us, as well as I think Victory Point and I think Rival Bears as well, which my buddy Richard, who's a Ute holder, just joined their team. So going to give them a second to kind of tell us what Rival Bears are up to. But yeah, thanks for everyone being here. Enzo, take it away, and then we'll see you next week.
All right. I'm really happy that we had all these people come to our panel. We got an amazing outlook on the space from each individual here. And last week, we learned about confidence in ourselves and confidence in whatever it is that we're doing within our space being the Web3 space. So whatever we're doing, as long as we're making good moves and we're doing it for the right reasons and we're making sure that we're not hurting anybody, then the universe will make sure that our plans and everything that we have in store for us will come to light. So keep doing whatever it is that you believe is the right thing to do for you and for the people around you and the people in the space to make the space better for everyone around us. And the universe will always try to help out those who are positive individuals doing positive things in the space.